Oops. So again, data ownership, people worried about your data being sold on. Well, you know, maybe if you Google, your data is going to be sold to whoever wants it, but you know, a good cloud vendor of supply chain planning software is not going to be selling your data to anyone. Your data belongs to you, and it's not going to be sold outside to anybody else, to any other organization. So availability of the solution. So with a cloud solution, with a good cloud vendor, you'll be given a service level agreement that guarantees the availability of the software. And I'm sure that your internal IT departments wouldn't give you that sort of guarantee to have the software up and running for like that. And there will be actually financial penalties on the cloud vendor if they drop below that availability. And all those availability measures will be visible and transparent, and you'll be able to see what the actual uptime is of the solution. So it should be guaranteed to you from the cloud vendor. The recovery, so obviously things do go wrong. Disaster recovery is built in as part of the cloud agreement with your cloud vendor, and the solution, the hardware and the software, will be monitored 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's not just discovered when somebody comes in the morning and you know the forecast has disappeared. So with a cloud solution, that monitoring of the solution and the ability to recover it immediately before, you know, if it happens in the middle of the night, again, that will be part of the contract with the cloud vendor. And some people worry about the fact that because it's cloud, they'll be getting some watered down version of the software. You know, it's some web interface that doesn't have all of the functionality. Again, a good cloud vendor will be giving you the exact same software to use as if it was an on-premise solution. So you're not going to be losing any functionality by moving to the cloud. Okay, so the future. So this is just a picture I put in. This was just something I found on the internet. This was taken in 1956, and it's IBM moving a 5 megabyte hard drive somewhere. And this is, obviously we laugh at things like this, but the way that we see you know, the cloud and technology moving on, and the way that everything is moving towards the cloud, what we're seeing is really a tendency that cloud is going to be the only way that we can purchase software in the future. More and more companies are moving that way, and new companies that are coming in, technology companies, are only offering the solutions in the cloud. I mentioned Salesforce before, the big CRM tool. That's only available in the cloud. And I think, you know, we'll look back at in the future at these, you know, cupboards in the IT department with these big servers, in the same way that we look back at this and think, God, you remember the time when we had this box with the big flashing lights. It will just be like this commodity where we just turn it on like the tap, and it's available to us. So if you are thinking about cloud, just some of the key things that you should look out for in terms of your cloud vendor. So the first thing and the key thing is the experience. So if you were looking at any software, you would be looking at how much experience that vendor's got in there. Have they got customers, reference customers that you can go and talk to about the experience? I think that's the key one. How long have they been doing it, and how many happy customers have they got in there? The second one is what I've called, are they able to support a mixed model? So sometimes it's called a hybrid approach. So can they support an on-premise solution and a cloud solution? Because people don't necessarily want to go as a big bang over to the cloud because it's quite scary. So, and if you've got different divisions in different countries and you've got a phased rollout of the software, then you will need to be able to support both an on-premise and a cloud solution. So is it real cloud? So I talked about hosting at the start, and hosting isn't real cloud. Hosting is somebody renting you a bit of space on a server. So real cloud is about managing the hardware and managing the software and taking the whole burden away from you, not just part of it. So security, we talked about this. SSAE 16 is the highest level of auditing standard that the data centres need to be to ensure that your data is secure. And this full version. So if you want to use a bog standard version of the software, Office 365, you buy Excel, and you don't get a customized version of Excel from Microsoft, then this multi-tenant solution is probably fine. But if you've got a customized demand planning solution, for example, then you can't just use the bog standard software. So you really need to be looking at this, is it capable of being a single tenant deployment method and giving you the full version of the software as if it was an on-premise solution. And finally, the scope of the software. So you might be looking at demand planning now, but if your organisation is a manufacturer, you might need production planning. If you're a distributor, you might be looking at DRP. Is your supply chain planning software vendor capable of covering the full scope of the supply chain? And I'll just get a small plug-in for Dynasis. This is our scope of our software. So you can see it covers from demand planning through production, DRP, right through to S&OP, all available in the cloud and on-premise. So I don't know how I'm doing for time, but 10 minutes. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. So I'll just open it up for questions. And if there's anything difficult, my colleague Barry might help me out. Yeah. Yes, hi Chief.
It sounds like Drummond is a cloud solution offered by a service provider to a company.
Yeah.
You think is it possible in the future, the cloud solution offered to the suppliers of the companies and the companies using the same cloud solution together so that they are able to share information, joint planning together at the cloud level?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I was thinking about that when we were talking about collaboration this morning, and the cloud is really lending itself to enhancing and improving this collaboration. Because what I took away from it this morning was we are really, we haven't made much progress at all in terms of collaboration. So we have, there are tools within, I can only speak from our experience, we have supplier portals and things like this. But we're still really at an early stage, and until there's really an adoption of some common standards across the whole supply chain, then I think cloud is there, ready and waiting for it, but I'm not sure companies are quite ready in terms of the trust and everything else to use the cloud just yet. But yeah, I really see the cloud as being an enabler in terms of supporting the development of collaboration.
Gary, how many of your doctors have gone back?
Backwards?
Yeah.
None. I mean, it's obviously we've been doing this on the QAD side quite heavily, 6 or 7 years. On the Dynasis side, 3 years. So it's still really early days, but so far so good. Nobody's gone backwards.
It's one of the challenges that you really need often in business as your IT division to champion this, but it's a little like turkeys voting for Christmas.
Yeah,
they're going to wipe out half their department if they implement it.
It is, but what we I liken it to, the reason why we buy demand planning software is because we don't want our planners to spend all the time in Excel sheets crunching numbers. And the reason you move to the cloud is because you've got all these skilled IT people who are spending all their times messing about with servers and applying patches, and I'm sure they didn't go to university for 3 or 4 years and to do all that type of stuff. So by bringing in the cloud, we can release IT people from doing all this sort of mundane admin type stuff and put them to work on more strategic stuff, in the same way that we want our planners to be freed up from doing VLOOKUPs in Excel and focusing on doing the planning job. So, and resources are tight, so people don't want to spend money on recruiting all these IT people. So it allows them to use their existing resources for better purpose.
Just add to that one as well. who asked the question, but it was interesting because we were talking to a customer, pitching for some business quite recently, a couple of months ago, and we had a room full of different people within the business of planning, marketing, and so on, IT. And we said, you know, guys, you've got two options. It's up to you. You can go on premise or you can go cloud. There was only one person that was fighting for cloud in the room, and it was the IT guy.
Mm.
The head of IT. Nobody else was like, oh, on premise is fine. The IT guy said, just get the problem away from me. So the IT understood that, you know, I don't want to be managing another complex piece of.
Yeah, and he was coming at it from the point of view of all these hidden costs. He understood all these costs. That the purchasing manager was happy because the software license fee was lower, so he wanted to go on premise. But the IT guy knew that 90% of that cost was being put onto his business. So he said, come on, we need to think about, you know, the real cost to the business, the total cost of ownership, not just this visible bit that people think, yeah, we're getting a great deal because it's on premise.
Very negative question, but heaven forbid there's an issue with the provider and they go out of business overnight.
Yeah,
What's the implication for the new
that'll never happen.
So there's actually within the terms of the hosting agreement, then there's kind of like all the terms around ownership and data ownership within there. So that's covered. If anything like that ever did happen, then it's managed through third party, and you know that all belongs to you, and you know, it goes back to you.
What about the actual operation of software, the day-to-day operation of the business?
So in terms of it's got to come back on premise and that side of thing. Is that what
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah, I mean that.
At least if you're on premise, you're dealing with, you may be working with a 10-year-old version of the software. At least you've got that software there.
Mm.
It's on cloud, and it goes belly up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us as a user?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I mean, in terms of the legalities of it all, that's all covered within the contract, in the cloud contract. You could bring it back on premise if you wanted to. You know, you could move into another planning system if you wanted to do that. But again, you know, it goes back to what Gary was saying earlier on about, you know, check out who you're going to do business with, because fundamentally that doesn't change a great deal from cloud and on-premise. If you've got an on-premise solution and that company goes out of business, yes, you can still use it for now, but you know, you've got no support for that, and eventually you're going to have to do something because it's not going to work for you. And again, even on our on-premise terms and conditions, we have T's and C's around, you know, if anything happened to us about the source code being available from a third party, and you have access to that. So yeah, check out the viability of who you're doing business with, you know, how long have they been around, you know, financially how strong are they, what their books look like, how many people are actually using cloud, because you get, I mean, even SAP are great at this, but you know, they're fantastic. They say, oh, we've got, you know, 30% of our customers are actually using cloud, and in reality they haven't. They've just got the cloud licenses, but they aren't actually using it. So check it out thoroughly. You know, go and see your customer who actually uses it. You know, what's the experience like? Did you use on-premise before? How do the two compare? Do they do what they, you know, they said they were going to do? And really check it out, because at the end of the day, that's the only way really to have the best guarantee that you're going to have a good solution.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much. Okay, cheers.